could see before, but I should be putting my eyeballs on, but I don't because I fight wearing glasses for some reason, and I refuse contacts because I can't put things in my eyeballs.
Okay.
Sorry, I've had to take a hydrocodone, so yeah, so try to keep me on track.
Yeah.
That's what. Oh, that's why I did the notes and tried to be as thorough with the notes as possible.
All right.
Say something again.
I'm saying things.
Okay,
We're getting a lot of alert noises coming in.
Yeah, you're coming in off of the speakers for the you're coming off the speakers on the iPad, not through my earphones. That's
okay. And say go into Discord and go to your voice and audio and change your input and output.
Yeah, I'm working on that. Input mode. No, that's not it.
Let's do some sharing while you play with that.
Okay. That's not working like it's supposed to. What is going on? Discord. Alright, so I should have played with this a little bit more. Because it has input mode and it gives either push to talk or voice activity, but it doesn't give me like where I can. Let me do this. Hold on a second. Close. Let me swipe down. Can you? Am I still connected?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. All right. Settings. Sound.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.
Did you hear that?
I can hear you, but it's coming, like I said, it's coming out of the
Did you
iPad.
hear the bumper?
No, I didn't hear the bumper. Try it again.
Oh, try this one.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.
No?
No, didn't hear it.
Alright, hold on. That's something I might loop back. It looks like the carrot one isn't working. I have, for a reason I do not understand, the Stream Deck can't find a few of my bumpers.
Well, that's great.
Yeah, it's a little weird.
I'm going to disconnect this, my Bluetooth for a second.
Mm-hmm.
And then reconnect it and see if that helps.
Okay.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.
All right, now say something.
Diamond Club
I can
hopes
tell
you have
that I'm
enjoyed
hearing
this
you
program.
from the earphones at this point. But say
What?
something to me. Oh, good. I can hear you from the earphones.
Okay.
That's perfect. That is perfect.
And I'm not sure why you can't hear...
The bumpers?
Yeah. Because the stream can. And
Weird.
we could hear them last night. Try something here.
Okay. I like your hair.
Thank you.
Very colorful.
Can you still hear me now?
Yep.
Okay, let me try something.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.
I heard it.
Okay.
I heard it, yeah.
Oh, wow. So now there's a setting that's different for OBS and Streamlabs OBS. Oh, I love it when changes happen. Let me see what else. The Bowie thing doesn't work.
Don't you blaspheme in here! Don't you blaspheme in here!
Aretha works.
Diamond Club hopes you have
Diamond Club
enjoyed this
works.
program.
And our opener doesn't work. What the hell?
I know.
Okay.
For those who have joined the stream while we're doing this, congratulations. You get to see September work on sound effects. Because I can't do something easy.
It just lost the path, like Stream Deck is being weird.
I understand.
Oh yeah. Oh, now I have a spinning wheel. Oh, Stream Deck. Bless you. Wow. Okay, I'm gonna have to force quit Stream Deck by the looks of it. Huh. Well.
Yeah,
Oh, okay, wait. It wants to access stuff. Alright.
I decided not to do the stick for the Cosby thing. I just...
Alright. Audio. Cloud. Desktop. Podcasting. Heresy. Audio.
Evil is amongst us.
I can hear that.
Stay back, boy. This calls for divine intervention.
Okay. Let me check this.
Evil is
Hear
amongst
that?
us.
Yes, I
Stay
can.
back, boy.
Okay.
This calls for divine intervention. I kick ass for the Lord.
Okay, so... Okay. Back here...
I need...
You need what?
I need to write Peter Jackson and thank him for that line because it's perfect for our show.
Me. What's up, Doc?
I heard that.
Okay. And let me fix this one. All the pathways just went somewhere else, so I have to remap my buttons, which is dumb. Where's Bowie Prayer? Podcasting, Heresy, Audio, Bowie Prayer, Open. Okay.
is for our great
that
friend
works.
Freddie.
Okay. Alright. Buttons all work.
Okay, good.
Well, for our show. I still gotta fix them for the other show. Although I only had one missing there, because it's... Like, all the ones I recently added
Right?
started freaking out.
Meep. What's up, Doc?
Alright. I think we're all sorted. Ready to start?
Good. Yep, I'm ready as I'm ever going to be.
Okie doke.
Devil is amongst us. Stay back, boy. This calls for divine intervention. I kick ass for the Lord.
Are not 5 sparrows sold for 2 pennies, and not one of them are forgotten by God? Luke 12:16.
A nation that destroys its soils destroys itself. Forests are the lungs of our land, purifying the air and giving fresh strength to our people. Franklin D. Roosevelt. Let's talk about the environment.
Welcome to Heresy and Hearsay, a podcast reclaiming faith in the context of political discussion. I'm Reverend Barney, and you can follow me at Seth Roth II. And you can follow the show's Twitter by just looking for Heresy and Hearsay. Heresy and Hearsay has a Patreon site that you can find at patreon.com/heresy and hearsay, where you can view our past shows as well as help us. Just $2 a month goes a long way to help us make this humble show. And with me today, my co-host, this show's Rosie the Riveter, September.
Hi there. I'm September, also known as 9 of 12. You can follow me on Twitch and Twitter at 9 of 12. I am also co-host of the Geek Grills podcast. Welcome to our new Twitch channel. Well, not as new now, but we're still building. You can contribute with bits in Twitch or subscribe for free if you have Amazon Prime. Please follow the show on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and any podcast catcher you use. Just look for Heresy and Hearsay. Please like, share, follow, subscribe in all the relevant places, and give us a review that really helps others find us. We also have a website where you can listen to our past shows and find bios about each of us. That's at heresyandhearsay.com.
So first off, as normal, we do our mental health check on each other now and just make sure that everything's going well, or that we've been trying to keep our mental health as much as possible. And I want to say this first. Congratulations on the Geek Grills doing a 200th episode last night. 200 shows, that's a big deal, especially for podcasts and stuff like that, to stay afloat. So, congratulations on that.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a lot, and we didn't even say anything really about it during the show. It's to not fade after that many episodes. I'm proud of that.
That's good. So, what else have you been doing for your mental health to kind of keep it up?
Well, it's been really good to be post-pandemic. Well, not post-pandemic. That's not over. Especially with the Delta variant out there. That's a little scary. But post-vaccination world, being vaccinated and being able to go more places comfortably.
Mm-hmm.
We went to a burlesque show. That was seriously that was, I think, the best burlesque show I've ever been to. I'm going to another one next week, and hopefully it's as good or better, because wow. And that also involved, we got a room, we went and stayed somewhere overnight, which we haven't done and been able to do.
Yeah.
So that's good and relaxing. I'm still, I don't know, had a few struggles getting out of habits of the same old, being stuck in a house all the time. It can be make your relationships very redundant, and A lot of our friends have been going out a lot more than us for a long time.
Right.
So, like this weekend, I mean, we had a fire, we had some people over, but then the next day, most of our friends went on this like tubing down the river thing, and they didn't invite us. And it's hard to not feel bad or weird about that. I'm trying not to think too much of it. It's probably logically that just we have gone out so much less and been so much more careful than everyone else all along.
Right.
And so they're not used to inviting us to stuff because they got a lot of no's.
Yeah. No, I understand that.
So I hope that's it.
Yeah, but most likely that's it. It's one of those things where if you've been super careful and everything, just let them. Here's the thing I would suggest is let them know, hey, look, things are a little bit better. We're willing to go out a little bit more, everything else, and let them know that you're available, I guess would be my suggestion.
Yeah, it's awkward though. It's like, I'm gonna be all needy.
Yeah.
But I am feeling a whole lot better about stuff with my son.
Okay.
He's staying in communication better.
Good.
Since he got engaged.
Oh, congratulations to him for getting engaged.
Yeah, he got engaged and they set a date and they stopped by the other night.
Oh,
and
nice.
Bought, like super thoughtful presents, and his fiance wants me to go wedding shopping, like dress shopping with her.
Oh, that's
Kind of
nice.
a nifty new thing for me. But I don't know. I'm having a lot of ups and downs right now.
No, I get that. I'm still struggling with my migraines right now. I'm basically, as we're recording, every light except for one in my entire house is off. And, because, it's just been very painful, and, I'm struggling, and I'm fighting with my work to make sure I haven't been paid in over a month now. So it's been a struggle to find food, and stuff like that. I was able to.
I'll help you with that.
Yeah. Oh, I know. Right now I'm just, and then on top of that, I had one of my tires blow because I've been driving on, basically bald tires for the past few months. But here's the thing: if everything works out and I get paid next week, that's going to be a month and a half of paychecks. So I'll be able to do a lot of stuff I need to do. So that'll be good. I've also been working on some friends of mine, and this also relates to the show because we're going to have to change days. A couple of friends of mine are interested in doing a D&D game face-to-face, which, I have all of, during the pandemic, I bought a whole bunch of D&D books and dice and maps and stuff, and I'm like, oh, I've got to use these somehow. I've got like all of the core, all of the what they would call the not adventure books, but the like the different books that gives you expansions on backgrounds and character classes and stuff like that. And last year I backed a Kickstarter for Wormwood dice, which are really expensive, nice dice. And I got one of my favorite YouTubers. She had created a set of dice as these pictures don't do them justice, but there's these gorgeous gemstone style aqua blue dice. They're absolutely gorgeous, and they roll so well. And I'm like, I've got to use these. So, I've been just kind of cleaning up the world and stuff like that I'm creating and everything else. Because I think that a lot of like the drow and the orcs get a bad rap. And so I'm changing their mythology in my world because, it's like, you should be able to play a drow. There's no giant spiders because, the drows don't do that. So, because, it's like, look, that is my one rule when I DM.
Even if they did, yours wouldn't.
What's that?
Even if they did, your world, they wouldn't.
No, yeah, no. That's the one rule I have about my one house rule, either as a player or as a DM, is there's no giant spiders, and your druid can't become a giant spider. That's just that's just because I can't even stand the models being out there. It's just, so that's just like no. But I've been working on that. So before we start our discussion this week, Brother Bowie, will you lead us in a word of prayer?
Tribute is for our great friend Freddie Mercury. I'd also like us to remember our friends, your friends, my friends.
Oops, wrong file.
Who have died recently.
That's okay.
I can edit in post.
Friends who are still living, and in some of your cases, possibly members of your family that have been toppled by this relentless disease. I'd particularly like to extend my wishes to friend Craig. I know you're watching, Craig, and I'd like to offer something in a very simple fashion, but it's the most direct way that I can think of doing it. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. Right. God bless Queen. God bless you. Thank you. Good night.
So let's first talk about
The big door slam.
Okay. There was originally, just so you know, the original file that we had was the file a bit longer, and we had spent some time and edited to just the prayer. So, but that is from the Concert for Life for Freddie Mercury after he passed in 1992. So, but that, by the way, you should definitely watch that concert. It's amazing if you can find it anywhere. So the environment, it seems that Mother Nature is A, on fire, and B, she is experiencing some very hot symptoms lately. She is melting the Pacific Northwest. Last week, as many of you may know, I have some friends that live in Portland and Eugene and stuff like that. And it was like, they don't have a lot of air. They typically, their homes and apartments typically don't have a lot of air conditioning built into it. Luckily, my friends, the ones that I contacted and everything, they were lucky enough to have air conditioning. But they, some of the places don't even have attic fans because it doesn't ever get that hot up there. But they were, 116 degrees. That's the bloody desert. That is, that's
Yeah, my
where
brother-in-law lives in Vancouver, and they had the same. It was like 115, and there were not air conditioners or even fans to be found after a few days of that.
Yeah, and it's just and it's basically, it's a heat dome. It's high pressure. I don't know the full science, but we have links for that so you can know what the full science of it. But basically, it's a high pressure that presses down and basically creates this like dome effect of heat that keeps, because it's coming off the ocean and it heats up the ocean, but it doesn't have a release like normal. Like here in the South, when we have those kind of heat and humidity kind of situation, because I think the humidity was amazing too up there. It was like insane. Whenever we have that kind of situation, normally there is pop-up thunderstorms to release some of that heat and energy. The Pacific Northwest is, during the summertime, is extremely dry for the most part, so they don't get pop-up storms like we do in the South because we're in the subtropics. So that's how it is set up. And I've read reports that, this wasn't just in our country, but like in places like in Siberia, they were dealing with this, and it reached as far as up as the Arctic. So you can, because I saw temperatures in the upper 90s for Alaska. I was looking at all of this, and that is just insane. And the damage that does to the Arctic is just, after everything else that's been done with climate change and global warming. I remember
change
Congress.
does affect all this. I was reading a lot of really interesting things about. I mean, the normal cooling systems we have, even when something does get displaced in these cycles, things like Gulf Stream jet streams and where things normally run in the Earth, these temps are taking place in different parts of the planet because of the Arctic cap being reduced, changing where the airflow happens.
Mm-hmm. Right, and right, and one of the things that was pointed out is like scientists said this was like a once in a 1,000-year event. The problem is that we've heard storms talked about. This is a once in a 1,000-year storm or once in a lifetime storms, and these are becoming more and more prevalent. And so I watched this political commentary show, and they basically play the entire clips or whatever, and I've watched both of the rallies that Trump has been on, and he rails against wind turbines and stuff like that, things that would actually help us. And so many on the other side of the aisle are against this kind of getting clean air, clean non-fossil fuels, that it makes it really hard for us to fix this when we really can fix this. And
but we
I don't
have to move
know
fast to fix this, and that it's so strange to be so short-sighted that so much is about jobs and upsetting the economy or whatever, but this is a potential to create a whole lot of jobs in this industry.
Oh yeah, a whole lot of jobs. And one of the things they talk about, and we will get to that in a second, but one of the things they talk about also is like, well, what about the Keystone Pipeline? Well, first off, that is Canadian shale oil, which is really hard to get out anyways and is extra dangerous. And then they're going to run it through aquifers and stuff like that, and we are going to get a discount on that oil or on that fuel. And then even then you've got things like the ocean catching on fire. The first time I saw that, I was like, oh, that can't be real. And then
that's terrifying.
Like, so and I posted on my personal Facebook page, is like, look, as a human being, I know how this all works, but as a theologian, is making it really hard to not calm down these crazy Christians by saying it's not the end times. First we had the pandemic, now we got the cicadas, the locusts, quote unquote, and then the ocean's on fire. It's like, at that point, it's like, it's all coincidental. You look in Revelations, and then the next thing you know is like, all this stuff is actually happening, and you're going, oh God.
Well, and it's interesting too, because with the pipeline fire you're talking about in the Gulf of Mexico, that took a coincidence or a happening of both things, because the pipeline was man-made and it burst, but then there was like an electrical storm that set it on fire.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the finger comes down.
Like, no,
look, see this? Bad. How obvious do we have to be here looking for signs?
It's like, hey, you want a sign from God that we should stop doing drilling on the coast? Here's a sign. Here's
your sign.
And it's just, it's but we have these events as far as the environment is concerned. drilling home how important it is that we should take care of the environment and that we're supposed to be good stewards of the environment. And that was what I wanted to touch upon is the fact is like, well, that's great, the environment and all this kind of stuff, but Reverend Barney, how does that affect, Christianity or faiths in general? And it's easy because God made us stewards of, I'm speaking of my faith, and but I don't know a faith where it doesn't state somewhere that we're supposed to be good stewards of this land and good stewards of this world, because it's the only one we've got right now. I know that a bunch of billionaires want to go to Mars, and it's fine, whatever, they can go to Mars, but Mars isn't a place that we can go to right now. The moon isn't a place we can go to. Carl Sagan was adamant about how important it was that we take care of this planet, even as small as incidental in the grand cosmos it is. It's the only planet we have. It's the only place that human beings are right now. And so if that's going from someone who is a known agnostic, and then then you look at the religious people all saying, and I know the Pope Francis did this huge edict about how we're supposed to take care of the planet several years ago, because he's a man of science. He was a chemist, and he understands how science works. And so for him to come out and tell the Roman Catholic congregation, which includes a lot of other splinters like the Greek and the Lutherans and a few others, that, hey, this is what we need to do to protect our environment. I don't understand how a Christian can look at what's going on and then be like, global warming is, either not believe in it, not believe it's man-made, or not believe that we can do, or that we should be doing more about it. Help me out here. What are your thoughts about that situation, or about the situation in general?
Well, I honestly cannot see the same as you, like how someone of Christian faith or most faiths cannot see that basic philosophy that exists in all of them. Is it goes right with do unto others. You leave things better than you found them. And is a practice in some faiths, and I know some good Christians that practice that kind of thing, and this is just a large scale of that. This isn't the kind of thing that are the sins you go to confession for and then you start again. This is an everyday act, little things that you can do in good conscience and support to just make the world a better place for everyone. It's like the macrocosmic version of do unto others. We are sharing this place to live with everyone, with every living person. And if you care about the environment that we all live in, the literal environment, then caring for it should seem top of the list.
Right. I agree, especially, because not only
even if it comes little things, pick up the trash when you see it on the sidewalk,
Mm-hmm. Turn off your computers, your whatever at night, stuff like it's the little things that will help if you can afford it. And I know there are some places that allow for subsidies. You have to be careful with it, but there are some places that allow for subsidies to help you get solar panels put onto your house and stuff like that. And that really helps take you off the grid as far as electrical power. We also need to, on an outward basis, be more vocal about things we want changed in our laws and in our government. And it starts at the local level, and it goes out. But that is something that we need to do as well as just good people in general. Is that you don't have to be a Christian per se. You just be, or anything. Just saying, hey, look, neighbors, some neighbors don't have air conditioning. Some neighbors don't have fans. There is a fan program for a reason because of this. And we need to
People
do
are
better.
dying. Like in Pakistan right now, you can't be outside for more than like an hour and 15 minutes. You literally cook and die.
Yeah.
So.
And the problem is when you get like inside and stuff like that, that heat keeps inside unless you can open your windows, get some fans and stuff like that. I know it's hot air, but it's better, and we just need to do better as a whole to try to help. And that comes back to like in the winter when those freak storms hit Texas and it got as cold as it, because you can look at it from the other side. It's climate change. People talk about global warming. Well, it's freezing here. It's like not the same thing. And when you look at, and the best description, and I've used this before, but the best description I've heard about how climate change really, or global warming is like open your freezer. And that is the Arctic. Open the freezer door and leave it open. The room that the kitchen will get cooler for a while, but the freezer will start to melt and everything in it will start to melt because that is what's going on. And that's why it's important that that door stays shut. And what we've done is with all the pollution and everything else over the years, it basically we're leaving that door open. And that's why we get those freak weather storms that happened in Texas that, killed a bunch of people and had a bunch of people suffering because of their power grid just not being able to handle that. And then what's so funny is that last month they were saying the same power grid and everything in Texas were saying, okay, you need to turn off your air conditioning for a while because it can't support the amount of heat that's happening. That is also a Texas problem because of how their energy grid is set up. But it's also proof positive that there's a problem. When you can take this microcosm of Texas and see how it affects it in the winter and how it affects it also in summer. And you see that both of them are having these freak cold snaps or these freak hot snaps. And it's just, it repeats that cycle. And it's going to get lower and lower until there's nothing to be cold. And then that's where the real problem comes in. And you look at like right now, what happened in Florida with that building collapsing. Part of that was the weather and the foundations being unstable because of the global warming and the ocean temperatures.
Well, it seems it's under investigation, but I have seen an awful lot, and it is starting to look like the sea level rising was undermining the foundation, and that's another thing we've been projecting and seeing happening. It won't be that many years before we see this kind of thing starting to happen in New York City.
Yeah.
Sea levels rising, so coastal areas are going to undergo more and more of these type of dangers.
And, talking about like New York and stuff like that, growing up when, we were younger and you'd hear about the hurricanes and whatever, they would normally spin out before they would get to, the Northeast. But now the storms are so powerful and so strong and held so close together because of the global warming that they're affecting the Mid-Atlantic, and they're also affecting the New England area because of this global warming. And they're not prepared for that kind of weather or whatever. I mean, it was rare, back in the 80s for them to even get like a thunderstorm. And now that is a common occurrence up there because of how the weather has been changed and everything else. Mm-hmm. So on the personal level, there are things, you turn off things, use the best. Like I have an air conditioner that is eco-friendly. It's still an air conditioner, I know, but it is got a better set up so that it doesn't use as much energy and everything else, and that's why my power bill is like $88 a month versus what it was when I was having, in the past, because of just changing the air conditioner, just changing that unit and everything. But there's also things that are going on in the macro, the infrastructure bills that are currently going through Congress. A lot of them touch on both helping us get to a greener system, and also helping with jobs and everything else, and expanding how the jobs would go. The House passed its own infrastructure bill, which is different than the Biden bill, but there's some similarities because both the Biden bill and the House bill both want more money to go to the green jobs. It's just the amounts are different, because the House is always going to be a little more liberal than especially the Senate. Even with the Senate Democrats, that's a difference. So you'll always have the more liberal side pushing for more money versus like the Senate or the president, because they have to deal with a side that doesn't believe in global warming to begin with. And this is where it's important for us to also make sure that we're electing people that will further us and further
that's
that.
Very much what he ran on, the Build Back Better. We've been hearing that for a long time. And a lot of that is this infrastructure going into public transportation for the infrastructure, but also making it electric at the same time. That's why his proposals are at such high dollar. I had an unpleasant argument with a friend of mine this week who just started slamming how he's making no attempt at bipartisanship. And I'm like, but they met and agreed on a bill. But that whole little, the other bill, the subsequent infrastructure bill, is going to have to go hand in hand, and they're going to pass that through reconciliation. We've seen it as underhanded way to, fake bipartisanship, but I'm like, it's just more complicated than that. And these negotiations, and I don't know why people have to be so... Like, how about just look at the bill and figure out if we need that stuff? Yeah. It's not like it's full of pork.
Right. And the thing is that you have to keep in mind, for us to have a bipartisanship, both sides have to be willing to meet at the table, and both sides have to be genuine and wanting to come up with bipartisanship. Problem is that when you have one party that's not wanting to be as genuine about that, that's where you can be as bipartisan you want to and meet with them as much as you want.
Yeah, that's the end where I got in the argument, that because of the way it was being spun on one side, and I got accused of just being a Democratic operative trying to spread misinformation.
Wow, really?
Yeah. Instead of like, no, I'm telling you can go back to March and read about the first bill and how they started splitting it into two bills in the negotiations. And I was just told, off, as if that weren't true. And I'm like, okay. It was pretty, because I was like, I tried to tell him, I was like, you're buying into this when Biden said, and all he said was, I can't sign those bills unless they get to my desk. And everybody took it as, well, not everyone took it as, a couple of really right-wing representatives that hadn't gone into the negotiation, the bipartisan negotiation that happened with like 12, like 6 of each reps, that came up with this first bill that they're going to actually put on the floor. A couple of them took that and ran with it and started tweeting like, it's extortion, and they're just going to take everything they negotiated and pass it in the other bill through reconciliation. They just completely spun it and reacted and almost sabotaged the first one passing, because it was so easy to do. Mitch McConnell has been obstructing any policies that the left would be in favor of since the Obama years and before, not even letting the vote get to the floor. And so the Republican representatives that worked with Biden negotiate this first infrastructure bill and getting it down to somewhere where they could get the 60 votes they need to get something started and going, weren't ones that were under McConnell's thumb. And so Biden's comment, to me, very much read as, they have to get to my desk, then I can sign them. And everyone took it as he was signing the first one contingent on the second one making it through, which, if you understand process, doesn't even make sense, but that's how they spun it. And people who don't know any better just bought that spin and got all outraged and said, oh, look, he's extorting us and he's not being bipartisan and he's just shoving everything through, and this is why we have a filibuster instead of no, the threat of the filibuster has kept anything from getting done at all, and this bipartisan measure was something like, okay, start getting me stuff to sign. And then Biden had the wisdom to not even try to explain all of that, really. He was just like, listen, no, I'm not going to veto it. And everybody was like, okay, he backed off that now. He never actually even threatened it. It was all a lot of spin. And I have, some right-wing friends who were just posting all those talking points and tried to act like I was just stupid, naive. And even though they know I don't, then it was like, well, you do know better, so you're just an operative spreading misinformation. And I was just trying to be like, no, but this is how committees work. This is how the process works. This is how they had to get around Mitch splitting it. And will you look at what he said? He never said, I'm going to veto this if you don't do that. That was all spin that you just bought. Every Republican that said, we were blindsided, I didn't believe that for a second. No, they weren't, because I've been reading about this since March. How are they blindsided in a day?
Yeah.
That's a lie.
Yeah.
That is exactly how you spin it, though, for people that didn't see how or pay attention to how this had been being negotiated. So, yeah, this split in this country is really hard, and it makes discussion about it hard. It makes educating people about it hard, unnecessarily, because it gets to where you're pointing at facts, articles, quotes, and they still won't believe things.
Yeah, no, and that's been a problem. Is that we try to be as factual as we can, and if we make mistakes, we will correct them. And in this show, but in general, but there is so much spin out there. On both sides.
No one should be disagreeing that we need to, like we said at the beginning, no one should be disagreeing that we need to improve our stewardship of the environment.
Mm-hmm. The problem comes in is that at what point do we have to tell business, all right, look, you guys are causing a lot of problems. We need to get that resolved. Give incentives. And I am going to throw out an idea, and I'm sure the right would hate this, but I think we as a society, and especially the United States, order a lot of stuff online lately, especially, over the past, we've been locked down and everything else. We should incentivize those companies like Amazon, Walmart, and stuff like that. Hey, what if we helped you turn your fleet from gas to electric and help you build, your own solar farm or something like that, so that you can power and charge up your own equipment as much as possible using electric cars and do it that way.
Mhm.
The electric cars are much more.
These
They
do
last
exist.
longer.
There are tax incentives for them to do that.
So, and I think we should really, and I know a lot of people are like, well, you're giving big business more money. It's like, I understand that, but that's not going to change. These big businesses, these billionaire companies and stuff like that aren't going to change unless there is a cost benefit for them. So if we give them that opportunity, I
Well,
think
some
that
are,
would
and
be.
that's why the tax incentives for improving their systems and going solar and buying hybrid vehicles, as long as they have a board who will look at the long term, are happening in some places. Isn't Apple
Mhm.
building a solar farm here for their new place in North Carolina, I think?
Right.
So some of that exists, but yeah, I mean, going farther, carbon credit is something that gets bashed around, but that's another way that is business oriented. I mean, if that's not something, carbon tax isn't going to affect citizens like you and me. It's going to
Right.
affect, businesses and force them to be more responsible, or it will cost them. So it's kind of a stick approach, but it would work faster and is almost necessary. But right-wing folks just think it'll destroy the free market, which is not only short-sighted but untrue. But they
No,
won't
I
listen
mean,
to economists or anything.
right. I mean, if you just look at, Amazon started as an online bookstore, and now look what it's doing now. As far as everything, they basically do everything that, they give us food, they give us, they could probably build us a house at this point. They've become the new, for those who may not understand, but they've become the new Sears Roebuck catalog. Back in the 50s and 60s, you could order a house from Sears Roebuck, and it would come in pieces on a rail, but there it would be, and then you could put your house together from Sears Roebuck. So it's not, it's not. Amazon's kind of become that niche as far as that's concerned. And another thing that seems to be, is speaking of like building and stuff like that, 3D printing is coming along quite well for building high quality, safe housing. They look horrible. Right now, the ones I've seen are not the greatest, but it's getting to that point where it'll be useful. Another thing, and I'm going to say this, and a lot of people, including those people that on the Greenpeace side, is going to hammer me for, but nuclear energy is safer and is less. I understand that there is the toxic waste, and we have to figure that part out. But that has been a lot less lately than in the past. They've figured out how to do it a lot better as far as with less waste and everything else. And I think more nuclear plants would be no, I don't want to say a quick fix, but would be a stepping stone to us eventually getting to windmills and that kind of stuff. The other thing is that make it a tax incentive for people that have large property to have some windmills on their, on their property. Just like when if you have a certain amount of property back in the day, cell companies would pay you to put cell towers on your personal property. I think that that should be something that we should be able to do, and make it to where it doesn't affect the tax rate of the house, or because somebody says that it lowers if you're near a windmill farm, which it doesn't. But if you're near a windmill farm, it lowers the property. But make it an incentive. Like if you own 20 acres, you could put a couple windmills up. And and if you stagger those out, that would help out, so that we're not having to use extra or trying to buy extra land or whatever, because we still have to grow food. So, it's kind of, we have to figure out how to do this and set this up to where everybody is helping out in that regard as well. And I think that's important for us. Um, just kind of looking at any and all of these kind of situations. So right now, this is going to be ongoing. We'll probably hit on this several more times in our podcast life, because this is an important topic, and we need to see it probably once these bills start getting passed and
keep an eye on the progress of the infrastructure bills and what they're accomplishing.
Yeah. Then what we can do is we can break them down once they've been signed, because right now they're just bills. And we all know the song from Schoolhouse Rock. It has to be signed first. So let's move on to our carrot and stick.
Me. What's up, Doc?
So, do you want to do the carrot or the stick?
I don't care. I'll do the carrot. So Walmart's helping customers that can't afford life-saving meds of their own they've got their own brand of insulin now. Now, this is something we hear constantly, people having medical access issues, but they have unveiled a low-price insulin to diabetes patients who can't afford it. These products will save customers between 58 to 75% off the cash price of branded analog insulin products, which translates to a savings of up to $101 per branded vial or $251 per package of branded Flex pens.
Yeah, this is, I remember when I was first diagnosed with type 1 diabetes, I was an adult, and I went to my local drugstore to get it filled, and it was going to cost me $1,000 because I didn't have insurance at the time. And that was back in 2009. This is before they've raised the prices again and again on these insulin and insulin pens. And it's, that is absolutely ridiculous to make people who need this medicine to stay alive, basically, not basically, but to stay alive, and to charge so much for it that, Walmart is not a good company as a whole because of how they treat their employees, but they are, I think, getting better about that too.
Well, this is one of those things where they're big enough to actually have done something about it. They went ahead, their pharmacy program, I know some people that go to their pharmacy just because their medication is more affordable there, even with insurance sometimes. But they're big enough that they were able to work with Novo Nordisk, and now they have this Relion Novolog insulin, and Relion also makes private label lower price versions of glucose monitors, Lancets, like all kinds of diabetes essentials. So they were basically big enough to invest, work with them, and then lower the price overall. So yeah, carrot for them this time.
Yep. And the stick goes to white supremacists decided to have a march in the birthplace of our democracy over the 4th, and a bunch of arrests followed it. Huh? Yeah. It of course turned bad. Basically, what happened is that a bunch of, I'm not even going to name the group because they don't deserve it, but basically a group of white supremacists pulled in with a bunch of box trucks. And there were a bunch of white supremacists in the back of the box truck. It's like, open up a box truck and, oh no, it's a bunch of, white supremacists. And they basically marched through, to the capital of Philadelphia. And
look, Goiters are the new hoods.
Probably. It's, and there are, of course, a lot of red caps. That's what those hats. We all know those hats.
I don't see any of those in the pictures, but I am seeing they're all wearing their like those goiters like people wear as masks, and they're all wearing the same white ones, and they're Reclaim America hats. They're pretty much in uniform, which is definitely alarming.
Yes, that's especially. Yeah, I think it was. I think they said it was like 3 or 4 trucks full. That's like that's a little scary. Um, but the police were finally able to get them arrested, get a bunch of them arrested and stuff like that. And it's just like, you know, that is going to be a problem that we're going to have to deal with. It is, as Biden said, and let me use the correct, clear language, because this is not our biggest threat as Americans, but as far as domestic terrorist, racial threat, white supremacists is number one. That doesn't mean like Al Qaeda or something else is more important. They are, but I just wanted that to be clear, because a lot of people on the right have taken what Biden said about that and kind of twisted it to where it's like, oh, so white supremacists is our biggest threat in the nation. It's like, no, that's not what he said. So I just wanted to be clear on the language.
Well, I think it is, but
it's
there's a lot of data
Don't
saying they are. I mean, the fact that they've been infiltrating purposefully our law enforcement for years and years, and to some extent it's being exposed more and more in our military. Now they're showing up by the hundreds in trucks with smoke bombs and fighting with people that, try to protest what they're saying. That's dangerous domestic terrorism.
It is they even had the plastic shields to protect it. A lot of them had plastic shields and were using smoke bombs as they were to basically obscure from behind them. They were using it that way and everything else. Yeah, they were very coordinated, and that is really terrifying. It's true. I have, I can't say it's scary.
Yeah.
So that, they get a stick and hopefully a lot of jail time. So with that being said, I want to thank you for joining us here at Heresy and Hearsay. I'm Reverend Barney, and you can follow me on Twitter at SethRothII. You can find the show on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and any podcast catcher, as well as our website. Just Google us. Give us a like and a review. Don't forget about our Patreon page, where $2 a month can help us keep us going.
And I'm September. You can follow me on Twitch and Twitter at 9 of 12 and hear me on the Geek Grills podcast. Thanks for listening today, and bless your hearts.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.
Cool.
And we did it within an hour.
Yes.
I will edit I'll do that now, where it's no longer a new Twitch page. We'll do that right now. So Thank you. So next week won't change as far as the days is concerned.
Sorry, I'm gonna mute that. Okay. Okay.
But it'll probably be the following week if I get paid. If not, then it won't. So just keep that in mind. We'll see. We'll have to play it by ear as far as the following week is concerned. But other than that,
week, I'm going to be traveling.
Next week?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I am
So,
leaving. Hold on, let me